play. Drowning in the monotone, no escape today. But I need a haircut, break the static's hold. Losing nuggets, time it bites, the score is told. Say goodbye to boredom, headlines made of gold. Twist and shake perspectives in a way so bold. They serve it up with humor with a snarky twist. Little bites and news to fill your daily list.
Hey guys, it's the morning news nuggets for July 26, 2024. And our first stories: surgeons are racing to reattach surfer's leg washed up following a shark attack. I really hope that they are able to do it. It sounds like a devastating injury. Australian doctors were in a race against time on Wednesday to reattach shark victim's leg after the severed limb washed up on a New South Wales beach. Port Macquarie residents found the bloody leg in the shallows at their northern beach on Tuesday, near to where a young competitive surfer had been mauled by a great white. The family of Kai McKenzie said he was squeezing in every minute of the day to rebuild his surfing career after suffering a spinal injury when he came face to face with the jaws of a 3 meter or 10-foot 10-inch shark. The 23-year-old survived by kicking and shoving the animal, but it grabbed a hold of his right leg before he could paddle away. Conscious but quickly losing blood, Mr. McKenzie managed to return his damaged surfboard into a wave and ride it back to shore. What an amazing person, because I don't know, if I saw a great white, I think I'd be like, dear Lord, it's my time to go. I don't know if my fight or flight or freeze would kick in. And obviously his fight did. And what a courageous thing, because I have seen Shark Week and that's about as close as I want to get to Jaws. So yeah, absolutely. I don't know that I would be that brave. An off-duty policeman stemmed Mr. McKenzie's bleeding by making a tourniquet out of a dog leash, an act that Kieran Mowberry, ambulance duty manager, said essentially saved his life. He was quite calm and able to talk to us, Ms. Mowberry told local media of Mr. McKenzie's demeanor as they stabilized him at the beach. He was a really brave and courageous young man. Mr. McKenzie was flown to a hospital in Newcastle where he's undergoing surgery while his family and the NSW surfing community rallied to raise over $112,000 or 57,000 pounds for his care. The washed up leg was seen carried into the hospital in a polystyrene box. So they found the leg, and hopefully they can get all of the attachments to go back. I know after a tourniquet, there's a very short amount of time, so hopefully they got it in time. I'm not a doctorologist, but hopefully they can make this work for him. Michelle McKenzie said her nephew was an incredible surfer, skater, musician, videographer, and all-around legend. He's always lived life to the fullest, squeezing every minute out of the day, she said. The team at Rage, a surfboard brand that sponsors Mr. McKenzie, said he was the toughest person we knew and had never seen someone who never complained and just got on with doing what he loved as soon as possible. He's been through a lot, breaking his back last year, sponsors wrote on social media. He's an inspiring person. And maybe to get through having to battle back, after a really incredible back injury, he just has that fight thing going for him. Authorities reopened the beach on Wednesday afternoon after a drone and boat patrols failed to find the great white. The incident is the second serious attack at Port Macquarie waters in the past year and has reignited questions over the effectiveness of the region's shark mitigation strategies. In March 2022, the NSW government committed to $85.6 million to continue tagging sharks, placing nets around some of the swimming areas, and setting drums in the water to intercept dangerous species. At least 15 great whites were detected in Port Macquarie on the shark system in the past week, according to local authorities, and drums were placed 50 meters offshore each day to stop them from coming closer to swimmers and surfers. Though attacks and fatalities are rare, authorities have been urged to find a solution and increase awareness after the recent rise in deaths. There were 10 fatal shark attacks globally last year, 4 of them in Australia. So hopefully this young man can get his leg reattached, and with hard work, and goodness knows he is no stranger to hard work with breaking his back last year and coming back to surfing. Hopefully he can go back to doing what he loves and maybe just, surf in safer waters. I don't know. Hopefully this is the last setback he's going to have and he will come back stronger and be able to go surfing again. In, well, ridiculous news, because I don't see the problem with her outfit, but I don't think it's the big ism or phobia either. Louisiana nurse kicked out of a steakhouse over a too revealing outfit. She was humiliated. A Louisiana nurse was kicked out of a ritzy steakhouse she regularly frequented because management claimed her outfit was too revealing and violated its dress code. Yamine McCallahan wore a two-piece outfit, a modest floral top, and a separate lengthy. She wore a Banadu top, and as one, well, busty woman to another, the bra did not support them. The cantilevers and steel beams used to support those puppies were not effective. Now, I say this as a person who doesn't wear strapless bras for the same reason. There are some things that even Lycra can't do, okay? And a separate lengthy skirt that reached her feet when she arrived at Stab's Prime Steak and Seafood in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on Tuesday, according to her Facebook post. McClanahan said she had worn the same outfit to a separate location several times. I mean, it's not immodest. Is it something I would wear? Probably not. For me, I would not feel comfortable in a two-piece outfit without a six-pack. And hey, if she feels beautiful, great for her. But also support. I'm just going to throw it out there. Support is good. However, she was told to leave over a recent change in the restaurant's dress code policy. Quote, people can wear jeans, regular t-shirts, and their waitresses can wear mini skirts with their behinds hanging out and fishnets, but my set is too revealing for the atmosphere they're trying to create, the family nurse practitioner angrily pointed out in her post. Never again, I'm done with stabs. McClanahan posted a video of the heated exchange with the steakhouse's co-owner, Dory Murrin, who pointed out the outfit's flaws, according to the advocate. I just want to get on camera why I can't come in with what I have on, McClanahan asked. It's just too revealing at the top, Mervyn explained, motioning her hands over her chest. McClanahan pointed out that the steakhouse's waitress outfit appeared more revealing, but the co-owner quickly brushed off the critique. I'm telling you that we've buckled down on our dress code, Mervyn replied. It's been like this for a while now. How long is a while? McClanahan asked as she wore the same outfit at a different location just 2 weeks before. McClanahan pointed out that her $75 H&M outfit was not exposing her breastular region and appeared to be appropriate to wear. She also uploaded a video of the waitress at Stab's Prime Steakhouse and Seafood wearing a short skirt and fishnets. Upset at being refused service at one of her favorite restaurants, McClanahan said she walked down the block to Z Rotisserie and Bar, where she received several compliments on her outfit and was politely seated without issue. The nurse clarified that Stab's Prime Steak and Seafood central location is where she usually eats, and the complaint is for the one in the Jefferson Baton Rouge location only. Quote, left kind of feeling mortified, violated, ashamed, and really humiliated because I had never had something happen like this as a working professional, McClanahan revealed to WAFB. You feel alienated, and it's like, well, what's wrong with me? What's the problem with me? Stab's dress code policy is business casual, and proper attire is required for all patrons, according to the restaurant's website. The restaurant specifically points out that tank tops are not allowed. McClanahan's Facebook post has been shared over 3,000 times since Tuesday. Awful, one person said. It's not even revealing or nothing. I'm sorry, sis, one user commented. So you can't wear that, but a waitress can wear what she had on. Make that make sense, another one pointed out. Sorry this happened to you. Disgusting. We'll never patronize them, stated another. McClanahan is also the vice president of the Baton Rouge branch of the NAACP, according to NOLA.com. Her father, Michael W. McClanahan, is a Louisiana NAACP state conference president and is on the nation's national board of directors. Following mounting backlash online, the steakhouse elaborated on their dress code Wednesday. Quote, we have a dress code policy that we ask our customers to observe. A few times a month, we speak with our guests about their attire, including asking them to remove baseball hats in our restaurant. Contrary to reports, our attire policy is not new. It has been effective for over 3 years now, Stapp said in a statement to WAFB. We spoke with a guest yesterday about her attire, and she pointed out that we have wait staff dressed in a manner that might not meet standards of our policy. For the last several weeks, we have actually been working on a different uniform so that we are not asking different standards of our customers than we are requiring of our staff. Well, I mean, it seems like you should have done that before. And, yes, it's embarrassing, but is it something to make an entire, Facebook vendetta over? Depending on your level of petty, yes, but, let it go. You found a happy meal somewhere else and go to the location you want to. In our final story for the Newsy News Nuggets, it's going to be a little bit more extra nuggets today. Where is Susan Powell? Her disappearance and young son's horrific deaths haunt the family still. Chuck and Judy Cox have spent the last 8 years in agony while trying to find some substance of justice after their son in law, Joshua Powell, unalived their two young grandsons. When it finally seems like they were on the verge of finding some closure earlier this year, the panorama brought everything to a halt. I don't know anything else I could have done, and they're still dead. My daughter's still missing, and now the children are dead, said Chuck Cox. I had them safe. They were in my care. His daughter, Joshua Powell's wife, Susan Powell, was the mother of Braden and Charlie Powell. She disappeared under suspicious circumstances in 2009, and her body has never been found. In February 2012, Joshua Powell unalived himself along with Braden, 5, and Charlie, 7, in a house explosion during a supervised visit. Josh Powell locked out the social worker from the home on their arrival. Why take the kids? Why? It makes absolutely no sense, said Cox. After the house explosion, Chuck and Judy Cox sued Washington State Department of Social and Health Services, DSHS, in civil court, alleging the negligence contributed to the deaths of their grandsons. The lawsuit was thrown out in 2015, but appealed and revived in 2019 by the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. The fact of the matter is they're the only ones that could have protected the children at that point, Cox said of the child welfare agency run by the DSHS. They're the ones with responsibility. The wrongful death civil trial, excuse me, began in February in Tacoma, Washington, but was interrupted in March as the COOF spread through the nation. We've been robbed of 3 precious lives, and it's just devastating to think the same person did it, Denise Cox Ernest, Susan Powell's sister, told ABC affiliate Kokomo TV in 2012. What happened to Susan Powell remains a mystery to this day. She was reported missing in December 2009 when the family was living in West Valley City, Utah. That night, Josh Powell claims he had gone on a camping trip in the middle of the night with their sons. Susan Powell, he said, stayed home because she was really tired. Quote, as soon as I heard that he was back and Susan was not with them, I instantly said to myself, what has he done? Kirstie Hellewell, Susan Powell's friend. Susan would never allow him to take the boys out in winter in the middle of the night. I never believed his story at all. The West Valley City Police Detective Ellis Maxwell, who led the investigation into Susan Powell's disappearance, said that when investigators arrived at the house, there were no signs of disturbances or physical altercations. At a bank in which she worked, inside a safety deposit box that belonged to her, investigators discovered a handwritten will and testament. In the will, Susan Powell had written about how bad her marriage had become and that Josh Powell had taken out a $1 million life insurance policy on her. If I die, her note said, it may not be an accident. That's our biggest piece of evidence, Maxwell said. It's her last words. There's no doubt that this document was authored by Susan. Authorities also determined that Joshua Powell had filed paperwork to withdraw money from her retirement account about 10 days after she disappeared. At the time of her disappearance, Susan Powell's closest friends said her marriage had been in turmoil for years, and she had even seen a divorce lawyer. Yeah, the Susan Powell case is cray cray. She'd been really happy. He'd been a great husband, and she said he'd really changed. He'd become not affectionate, the Cox family attorney Ann Bremer said. Her friends also said Susan Powell would complain about the lack of intimacy from her husband. He kept her at an arm's length. He wouldn't kiss her anymore, wouldn't touch her, wouldn't hold her hand, Hellawell said. Josh and Susan's marriage reaches rock bottom in the summer of 2008. Josh and Susan are constantly fighting. They're arguing in front of the kids. Josh is exhibiting extreme control over Susan, said David Crawley, host of Cold, an investigative podcast on the case. And Cold is actually a really good podcast if you like those things. I think he does a wonderful job with it. Hellawell said Susan Powell would email her a lot, saying she wanted to do everything in my power to save my marriage before I walk away. Chuck Cox said that after his daughter's will was found, he felt frustrated that authorities did not arrest Josh Powell. I felt they had plenty of evidence to arrest him, Chuck Cox said. Police publicly declared that Josh Powell was a person of interest about a week after his wife went missing. However, despite suspicions, Josh Powell was never charged with Susan Powell's disappearance. Those closest to the family say Josh Powell acted strangely in the wake of his wife's disappearance. He was observed cleaning his minivan and the garage. It was really odd to me because he was running around the house grabbing piles of towel and putting them in the washer. And finally, we were like, you've got to go to your interview with the police, Jennifer Graves, Josh Powell's sisters, said. Friends and close relatives also said he never participated in search efforts or showed any urgency to find his wife. There was no point at which Josh ever seemed to be concerned that Susan was missing, said Hallowell. He never participated in massive efforts that myself and relatives and friends launched to put out flyers in the mail parking lot. And when detectives pushed Josh Powell on the details of his wife's the night the wife went missing, he said he could not remember events leading up to her disappearance. I just don't remember the activity we were doing, he had told Maxwell. Investigators also questioned then 4-year-old Charlie the day after his mother disappeared. Charlie confirmed to investigators that he went camping the night his mother vanished and that my mom and dad and brother were with us. The children said mommy was in the van but didn't come back with us. A pretty significant thing for a 4-year-old to tell a detective, said Rebecca Morris, who authored a book about the case titled If I Can't Have You. My mom stayed at Dinosaur National Park. My mom stayed where the crystals are, Charlie also said. Many people interpreted Charlie's statement to mean that his mother was dead. However, the toddler also made comments that were clearly false, including taking an airplane to go camping. There's a pile of circumstantial evidence, said Maxwell. Is there enough to arrest him and book him into jail, hold him accountable? Absolutely there is. Could we? No. Maxwell said that Lake County District Attorney refused to file charges without a body until a year had passed. ABC News reached out to the district attorney at the time, but they declined to respond to this claim and refused to comment on this case. In January 2010, less than a month after his wife disappeared, Josh Powell said he sought to get away from the media attention and moved with his son into his father, Stephen Powell's house in Puyallup, Washington. In an effort to get more information for authorities, Graves wore a wire and confronted her brother with his wife's disappearance. Suddenly, I shoved Josh into the bathroom, and at that point, I was like, drop all pretense, just tell me where her body is, says Graves. He continued denying knowing anything about Susan Powell's disappearance, and the situation escalated. Powell then kicked Graves out of the house. I regret not getting the confession, but I don't regret going, Graves said. In 2010, about a year after investigators first spoke with Charlie on the day after his disappearance, they sat down with a 5-year-old again and asked him what he remembers from that night. We can't talk about Susan or camping. I'm always keeping secrets, Charlie said in the interview. I don't want to talk to you on this long. I mean, this many minutes. I'm done. The only thing we got out of Charlie that time is that she went camping with them but didn't come home. Then he kind of clammed up after that. Detective Sergeant Gary Sanders of the Pierce County Sheriff's Department. While all the new details began to emerge about Stephen Powell's unusual fixation and inappropriate behavior toward his daughter-in-law, Susan Powell. In a 2011 interview with ABC News, he alleged that Susan Powell had made advances towards him. I'll take things that never happened for 800, Alex. Quote, she told me part of the reason they moved to Utah was to get away from her father-in-law, Stephen Powell. She was like, he's the most filthy, foul, disgusting pervert the world has ever seen, and he's in love with me, said Hallowell. Susan was very, very sexual with me. She was flirtatious, Stephen Powell told ABC News. We interacted in a lot of sexual ways because Susan enjoyed doing that. I enjoy doing that. Ew. Just ew. Why are you telling everyone that? That's not to your benefits, Graves said of her father. But somehow in my dad's own twisted mind, he thought that was greatest strategy to keep the dogs off of Josh or something. I don't know. Denise Cox Ernest said her sister Susan Powell had complained about her father-in-law's inappropriate advances, and she had told Josh Powell about them too. She was extremely upset about and disturbed by those, but even more disturbed when Josh said, that's his dad. Shortly after the ABC interview, Utah police searched the Powell family home in Puyallup, where Josh Powell and his sons were living at the time. Investigators found home videos taken by Stephen Powell that showed secret recordings of his daughter-in-law's body parts, video diaries in which he smelled her underpants and expressed his love and sexual feelings toward her. The search also yielded dozens of computer disks containing images of women and young girls that focused on their private areas. Police arrested Stephen Powell in November 2011 and charged him with voyeurism and possession of CP because he is a gross, disgusting grossness. Josh Powell was named as a suspect in the CP investigation. Following Stephen Powell's arrest, Josh Powell lost custody of his 2 sons. Chuck and Judy Cox were awarded temporary custody of the children, in which they acted essentially as foster parents. The state had official custody, and Josh Powell was given weekly supervised visitation. Because of all the things the police had encountered in the search of Stephen Powell's home, it became apparent eventually that these boys were at imminent risk of harm, Ted Buck, another attorney for the Cox family, said. In February of 2012, new evidence emerged that a laptop from Josh Powell's Utah home contained images of cartoon Prawn. A judge then ordered Josh to undergo a psychosexual evaluation and take a polygraph test. But before Josh could take the evaluation or polygraph test, he unalived himself and the 2 boys. On February 5th, 2012, a caseworker brought the boys to the Powell home for a supervised visit. He locked the official out, incapacitated the 5 and 7-year-old children with a hatchet, poured gasoline on them and around the house, then caused an explosion, according to authorities. A few months later, in June 2012, Steve Powell was convicted of voyeurism charges and was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. The trial court had initially dismissed the charge for possession of CP in 2012, but the state courts of appeals reinstated the charge in 2014. He was also accused of he was convicted of possession of CP in 2015 and spent another 2 years in prison. Stephen Powell served a total of 7 years in prison before being released in July 2017, and he died a year later of a heart problem. Maxwell believes that Joshua Powell's suicide was definitely an admission of guilt for Susan Powell's murder. She was going to divorce him. If he can't have her, nobody will, he said. So he essentially kidnaps Susan, most likely unalives her and disposes of her body. Where? I have no idea. The Cox family civil case reconvened at the end of July this year. In August, the jury awarded the family a record $98.5 million award against the State Department of Social and Health Services. Chuck Cox says he's going to use the reward money to honor his late grandchildren. I intended to use the award to try to help other people so we can save more children. The judge presiding over the case since reduced the award to 32 million, 16 for Charlie, 16 for the other grandson, Braden. The Cox family will appeal the court's decision to reduce the jury's verdict, their attorney said. Graves said the Susan Powell story will continue to live on and inspire others to the right direction, to move toward good relationships and get out of bad situations, abusive situations. So this is a little bit of a longer Newsy News nugget, but I am glad for the Powell family that they finally got acknowledgement of the failures of Child Protective Services and that they are going to use that money to help other people. And let me take this time right now. If you are in a situation where someone is constantly bringing you down, constantly, you know, demeaning you and things like that, regardless of gender, I know it is going to be the scariest step you take, but please take it away. Please, it's not going to be easy. Getting away, starting over, refinding yourself after you've been so completely run down is so hard, but so worth it. And please think about it. Please. It gets better. Every step is a little bit easier. It is difficult. I'm not going to lie to you, but you can do it. So take those with you as you go. Newsy News Nuggets. Please like, subscribe, and share. And thank you for joining me with these stories. Bye, guys.